Good evening, everyone. Apologies for the delay. We're just wrapping up some loose ends and we're waiting for the food to get here, which is going to be here soon. Very important. Welcome to All Saints Hubert. It's wonderful to see all of you here with us, and thank you for joining us on your precious Saturday evening. A very warm welcome from the Mullens, from Hubert, Hamer, myself and Daniel in Auckland, and also Marcus, Mercy and Mervyn in India. This evening of Thanksgiving is to commemorate Amelita Mullens and gather in God's presence as we give thanks to the blessed life that she led and for the blessing she was in our lives. Amelita had many walks of life. She was a daughter, the beloved late wife of my late granddad, David Winfred Mullens, an encouraging, strict and compassionate mother to Hubert and Marcus, a loving and joyful grandmother to me, Daniel and Mervyn, a welcoming mother-in-law to Hamer and Mercy. She was a high-achieving career woman who aimed for the stars. She taught her students with vigour and pride, and we'll get to hear from some of her students today. Above all else, she was a steadfast woman of God, serving in churches in India and New Zealand. This evening, we'll worship in prayer and songs, hear reflections from Alfred and Edwin, and a message from Reverend Bruce Keeley. We will wrap up with prayer from Pastor Vicky Viknaraja from our Elam Tamil Church. Then we have a delicious dinner, as I mentioned before, which will be downstairs in the Hassel Hall. The toilets are just to my left behind the doors there next to the kitchen if you need a glass of water. We are so glad you're all here, as Amelita would be, and we hope you enjoy this evening. I'll now ask Reverend Andrew Coyle, vicar of our church here at All Saints Hubert, to lead us with an opening prayer.
Friends, good evening, and can I add my words of welcome to those of Bettina. Welcome to this time and this place for what it is that we do this evening. Let us then begin with prayer. Loving and eternal God, with your whole church we offer you our thanks and praise for all you have done for humanity through Jesus Christ. In his living and dying, you have disclosed your gracious plan for the whole world and shown that your love has no limit. By raising Jesus from the dead, you have promised that those who trust in him will share his resurrection life. For the assurance and hope of our faith, and for the saints you have received into eternal joy, we thank you, loving God. And especially now we lift up our hearts in thanksgiving for the life of Amelita, now gone from us. For all your goodness to her through many days. For all that she was to those who loved her. And for everything in her life that reflected your goodness and love. We ask your blessing on us now as we give thanks. As we remember Amelita, may we be reminded once more of your great goodness and love, and be comforted by your presence. Blessed be your name, O God, now and always. Amen. Let us stand now and sing together the hymn, Praise My Soul, the King of
Praise
share his reflections.
It is my privilege and honor to stand before you this evening and to remember and celebrate the life of Mrs. Mullens, who was my head of department at the Institute of Hotel Management in Madras way back in 1978. For those who don't know me, I'm Alfred and one of Mrs. Mullens' students at the Institute of Hotel Management in Chennai. This evening, we pay tribute and celebrate a life well lived, a life committed to the cause and education and the students. The impact that teachers have on their students' lives is immeasurable. And the best teachers not only impart knowledge, but also inspire and motivate students to achieve full potential. I was fortunate to have had this opportunity to learn from an exceptional teacher, Mrs. Mullens, and her dedication to teaching and her students was exemplary. She had an innate ability to connect with the students and understand their individual strengths and weaknesses. And even beyond the classroom, she also encouraged us and our students and me especially to take up training during our term breaks and not sit at home. So I remember she used her contacts in one of the 5-star hotels in Madras, Taj Coromandel, to get us in for a month of training during a very busy season. And she was keen that all her students get the best training. Mrs. Mullens was also a source of support and encouragement. When I and a few of my classmates wanted to start a prayer cell, she was very encouraging and supportive of. And when I recall that she always inquired whether we were still meeting for prayer every time I met at the corridor or passed by her office. No matter how skillful a teacher she was, no matter how patient and how kind she was with us as students, no matter how much energy she put into making us the best students we could possibly be, and no matter how much she tirelessly and expertly taught to so many of us, Mrs. Mullens touched some of our hearts in very special ways that we can never, ever accurately or fully put it across with mere words. The best teachers are those who show you where to look, but don't tell you what to see. She was a good example of this. The fraternity of the Institute of Hotel Management has lost a noble soul, a valuable lecturer, a former head of department and principal. His family, a dear mother and a mother-in-law and a grandmother, and many of us have lost a dear friend. In her stead, Mrs. Mullens left herself in the lives of many students whose lives at the Institute of Hotel Management she had helped to guide. As I close, I would like to read a poem. The author is unknown, but I thought it was very apt here. Life is but a stopping place, a pause in what's to be, a resting place along the road to sweet eternity. We all have different journeys, different paths along the way. We all were meant to learn some things, but never meant to stay. Our destination is a place far greater than we know. For some, the journey is quicker, for some, the journey is slow. And when the journey finally ends, we claim a great reward and find an everlasting peace, together with the Lord and Savior. I'm sure Mrs. Mullens would have claimed the promised reward and found everlasting peace, in grateful remembrance of a teacher who made a difference.
Thank you, Alfred. So we'll now stand to sing Take My Life and Let It Be.
Sure, good evening, Vanakkam. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Edwin Paul. I have the dubious distinction of being a student of Mrs. Mullens and also a colleague for a short while. In the sense that she was the principal while I was teaching for a short while. So I've had the chance to know Mrs. Mullens slightly more better than as a student. So I'd like to share. But I actually came prepared with a huge speech, but then Alfred stole my thunder. So he's my senior, and I couldn't have done a better job than he did today. So thank you, Alfred. Whatever I wanted to say, it was all covered, so I'd like to acknowledge that. And also today, besides being a student and an ex-colleague, I also represent a fraternity, a community of alumni called the Mad Cats. We are from Madras Catering College, so we call ourselves the Mad Cats. There's about 3,000 of us who are active and connected all over the world. We keep in touch, Mrs. Mullens had a significant impact on most of our lives, at least a few thousand of us around the world, very successful. Not all of us are battalions, most of us have moved on, but definitely the impact that Mrs. Mullens has had a very positive influence in our life. And I don't know if many of you had a chance to meet with Mrs. Mullens before she came to New Zealand. I was speaking to Hubert and we figured out that she came around 2011, 2012 to New Zealand, and when she was already 70. So most of you would have known her as an elegant old lady. But those of us who knew her from before will only agree that the first thing that anybody who anything you thought about Miss Mullens was that she was extremely beautiful. She was fair, sophisticated, well presented, never a bad dress day, never a bad hair day, always the epitome of style and sophistication. So, and that was kind of something for us to aspire to, especially people who came from, not from well-to-do social backgrounds, or not in a hotel fraternity, Christian, conservative families. When we saw Mrs. Mullens, and we thought, oh, this is like how we could be, right? So that was the first thing, and that struck. Yes, so she was beautiful, elegant, fair, sophisticated, and always immaculately dressed. And also, not many of you know that Mrs. Mullens was also the head of the organization that used to award star category classification to the hotels in India. So she would be the panel that would decide whether a hotel was 3-star or 4-star. And you can imagine the kind of clout and the status she would hold. I mean, I've seen her walk into lobbies where people would literally bow down and make sure that everything was, kosher, and that they would get the category of rating that they wanted, right? So she had that presence, she had that aura, she would carry that over. She wasn't a celebrity, she wasn't a politician, but she was a big shot, and you could feel that whenever you encountered Mr. Mullens. And what I thought today was I'll just share a couple of personal encounters or engagement that I had with Mrs. Mullens, one as a student and one as a colleague, and maybe that will try and showcase her from the Mrs. Mullens that you knew of. Right, so when I was in first year in college, it was new for me, and we were a proper hotel management institute, just to give you a context. So those of you don't know, so we were chefs and waiters and housekeepers and all of those different badges, uniforms. And we used to have a cafeteria for students. And this institution was run by the government, typical bureaucratic government department, which had circulars going out and people signing off on memos kind of operation. And we had a student cafeteria, which was hardly used. All the students during our break and during our classes would just walk out of the campus, and right on the corner used to be a tea shop, a tea cafe, right? And most of us would hang around there, and which was troubling. I mean, we were in a hotel management school, we can make the best tea or coffee, and why were students hanging outside of the campus, right? So we used to think about that. And once Mrs. Mullens caught me and a bunch of guys walking out of college during actually playing, wagon college and going out to this tea cafe. So because maybe she knew me or she called me and she said, why do you guys go out of college and we serve the best tea and you can have all this? And I just in my naive impulsive response, I didn't even think. I said, man, this is boring. This is run by people's staff who are from the government who sell boring stuff, and outside we listen to music, we sit and yak, and people have a good time. And she said, why can't we do it like that? I said, I'm not sure whether we are allowed. I'm not sure how this operates. She said, okay, next week onwards, you guys are going to run the cafeteria. Right? So, and this was like, I'm a first year student, so this was new, so I had to go canvas a few more students, rope in a bunch of us, and we made a roster, and we said we do it. But that's how she pushed us. So, and we thought it was cool, like the principal of the college is encouraging students, and that's a nice thing. But only later, when I got to know, or even more when I joined the college to teach, did I realize how much trouble she went in for that. Because this was a government setup, the cafeteria was run by a certain category of a class for employees, and they had a particular status in the bureaucracy, and because suddenly their services were devalued and people are not, literally the operation was taken away from them and given to the students. So they actually went on a strike, and professionally it was a big thing for her to pull it off. But she didn't make it seem like any trouble at all. She just loved the students and encouraged us to do that. So I'd like to acknowledge the spirit of hers on that. The other one was more of my professional experience with her. So I finished college, I was management training somewhere, and then I also happened to start my first business, and which wasn't enough to pay the bills. So I was looking for something to do along with the business, a hustle with it. And there's an opening that came in college. I wasn't the best student. I was popular. I knew people knew me. I knew people, but I wasn't teacher material, right? So I wasn't an academically well-doing student. So when there was an opening that came, it was to teach part-time and first-year food and beverage. So which was very simple. It's just your coffee, cutlery, left side, right side business, right? So I thought, okay, that's a nice fit. So I'm going to do this, I'm going to take this up, I'll keep this as a part-time job and do a side hustle. I mean, my business will be my side hustle. So that was about 6 to 8 months, and Mrs. Mullens would always come and say, have you ever considered this to be your career? I said, no, this is just, I'm just filling in time, filling in like making enough to make my bills. So I don't think I'm a teacher. I don't consider myself a teacher. And then she said, no, you should consider you have the, I know that you can be a good teacher. I said, no. And then there was, I remember very clearly, there was a term break in summer. So, and then I got a telegram those days. It makes me sound very old, but those who remember telegram will know, which said, you've been appointed permanently full-time as a chef instructor in the advanced training kitchen. And that was, if I was here, this was here in terms of capability, right? So, first thing, my dad called me and said, hey, you've got this job, and there's a central government job, you need to go take this up. I didn't have the confidence. So first thing I went to Ms. Mullens and said, I don't think I can do this. Thank you for, making this offer, but I am like first year food and beverage. I can't be advanced level chef because I was notorious for my brilliance as a chef, a student, right? So I didn't enjoy the rigor of doing the records and weighing things and doing things right. I didn't know I had in myself. But those of you who know me or who happen to know me on social media, I have become a very passionate chef. I cook, different cuisines, everything. And that's simply because Mrs. Mullens said, you do not know what you're capable of. I think you'll be a good chef. So, and she made me teach the level, the final year advanced training kitchen. So that's like chefs who already, making careers as chefs. And that was a very tall order for me as a student who wasn't a great student, who didn't like chefing. But that gave me a phenomenal opportunity to learn. So because I was put in the coal face, I had to slog a lot, learn a lot to teach. And so it's not about me, but actually it was Ms. Mullens who was behind me, checking, like Alfred said. She would always check. She would come and ask, how are you doing? How are you faring well? And that made a big difference in my life. And so I'm a chef today, not as a professional chef. I can call myself a chef. I enjoy chefing just because of Mrs. Mullens. So Hubert and Marcus, she was not a mom just for you guys, but for over 1,000 of us, right? And we are honored to share that with you. And I'm sure she'll be with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Edwin. That was really nice hearing about her as a teacher and as a colleague as well. I'm glad that you have those memories with her. And yeah, thank you again for sharing that with us. I'll now ask Daniel to bring us our readings from Matthew and from Psalms.
I would like to read from two of Party's favorite portions from the Bible, and the first reading is from Matthew chapter 5, verse 13 to 16. Believers are salt and light. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? It is then good for nothing but to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by men. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all those who are in the house. Let your glory so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. The second reading is from Psalms 23, verse 4 to 6. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
All the songs that were picked today were some of Mom's favorite songs, and we thought we'd take the risk of singing a Tamil song, which she always used to keep murmuring when she comes in the car or wherever she is. So the song is called Yanakai Jeevan Vittavare. I'm sure all of you would know this. So if you could please pitch in and help us with the singing, that would be really good. Thank you. We all please stand for the song, thanks.
Jeevan
be seated. Thank you so much. That came beyond my expectation. Thank you so very much. We came as a family to New Zealand in 2002, and All Saints Church was the first church we came into, we walked into. And when we walked in, we were greeted by the warm and loving hands and face and feelings and support of Reverend Bruce Keeley and Diane Miller Keeley, who have consented, and it's a great privilege to have them with us this evening. Mom knew them very well, they knew Mom very well. Those days when she knew them, Reverend Bruce was the pastor of this church. She was an active member of this church. She used to come every Sunday and do a few things with them. So when I asked Reverend Bruce to share the message, a short message, he immediately obliged. Thank you so much, Bruce and Diane, for being here with us. It's a real honor to have you here with us, and I'm sure Mom will be very happy. I please ask you to come forward to share a few words. Thank you.
It is a great honour to be asked to be here, and Hubert, you've answered a question I had in my mind. Just how many years was it since you came? It's been wonderful to know the Mullens family from virtually the moment of their arrival. When they first arrived, Damon and Hubert, there was the cutest little daughter, Bettina, in tow, and it wasn't very long after that before there was an equally cute little Daniel around. And it's been great to see them growing up, and now, a number of years later, to see where they've got to as wonderful, talented young adults. So thank you for the invitation. And then later on, Amelita arrived as well, and it was lovely to get to know her. And my memory of her mostly was in helping with Selwyn Seniors, which was and still is, I think, a program for older people run by the church several days during the week. And Amelita was in her element, working alongside the established team, helping in every way she could and making suggestions about how things might be done differently based on her own long experience. And I understand from Hubert that Amelita was quite active in lay preaching in India, helping out the clergy, and that amongst her teaching and preaching, Matthew chapter 5, the passage we've just heard, was one that she used often, dear to her heart. That you are salt of the earth, said Jesus, you are light of the world. So I just wanted to reflect briefly on those two things, on salt and light. I once heard a definition of salt. It's probably a very Western European definition, but it's this. Salt is the stuff that makes porridge taste horrible if there isn't any of it in it. It's a rather convoluted definition, but it really is hinting at the essence of salt. Salt adds flavour, and if it's not there, as Jesus said, where will it be seasoned? We can have, of course, too much salt. And in the biblical use of the word, and salt appears many times during the scriptures, too much salt can be used as a symbol of barrenness and desolation. And we might think of Solomon, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, and Lot's wife being turned into a pillar of salt. Symbol of desolation and barrenness. But then, as Jesus reminds us, you can have too little salt and something is rendered utterly tasteless. But if you have the right amount, not too much and not too little, then you have flavour, you have zest. And salt, moreover, can be used as a preservative and as a cleansing agent. So in the right amount, it is very, very useful. And in biblical terms, salt is also a symbol of loyalty and of a covenant relationship. So it has many different layers, both positive and negative, in its meaning and its application. And I'm quite sure that when Jesus said, "You are the salt of the earth," he's speaking of that very best element of salt, of liveliness, of loyalty and commitment and steadfastness, which salt symbolises in the Scriptures. And then light also features throughout the Scriptures so frequently. We can have the dazzling light of the glory of God. We can have the harsh light of judgment. But we can also have the gentle, flickering light. A light which offers guidance, a light which offers reassurance in a time of darkness. When Jesus said that you are the light of the world, what might that mean for us? What might it have meant for Amelita? Well, it can, at the very least, and most centrally mean we're called to reflect Christ, the true light of the world. And he goes on to say about it not being a matter of words, but a matter of good deeds. We find ourselves right now in the tail end, we hope and pray, of the COVID era, but we also find ourselves in election year when there's an awful lot of loud talk, a lot of conspiracy theories, a lot of clashing opinions. We've had a surplus of words and theories and arguments. Jesus wasn't ever asking his disciples to shout loud. He spoke more about things like salt, about light, about yeast. There's a subtlety, there's an unobtrusiveness in his approach and what he calls us to be like. To be steadfast and unobtrusive in putting the good news not into loud words, but into daily actions. Let your light so shine, he says, before others, that they may see, not hear your loud words, but see your good works and give glory to God. And as we've heard tonight, Amelita focused, yes, she was a communicator, but she also was a model. I liked the reference to the fact that she didn't tell people what to see, she pointed them where to look. And that's more an action than a word. It's an attitude. And so through her educational life, her church life, her family life, in many ways Amelita embodied the very things that Jesus called us to be salt of the earth and light to the world. And so our best form of thanksgiving for the life of this teacher and mother and wife and grandmother is to continue that legacy of being salt, being light, being yeast in practical and unobtrusive ways. Amen.
Thank you, Bruce. Let us now stand for our song, How Sweet the Name of Jesus Sounds. will now call upon Hubert to give us a vote of thanks and to say some words.
இயேசு கிறிஸ்துவின் பரிசுத்த நாமத்திலே வாழ்த்துக்கள். Greetings in the precious name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5 to 7 goes like this: Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not unto your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths. This is something that I can see that practically happened in my mother's life. Things that I wonder about my mother, as very aptly shared by Alfred and Edwin. She wasn't any different when she came home. The students used to fear her presence. When she comes home, we used to fear her presence. So I used to only think of running and hiding when she comes back home. I used to be very free with my dad, but once I heard her footsteps loud and clear, I kind of do the disappearing act. There's just a few instances, personal instances that I want to share on the lighter side. So you're more than welcome to have a laugh. You don't have to be really serious. It's just to say thank you to God and thank you to Mom for what she was to us. And she was also a mixture of lot of love and laughter. She was not all just serious. There was this time when she had me first in 1968, and then she always wanted a girl baby. She liked girls to an extent that when I was young, she used to dress me up like a girl. And so she really wanted a girl baby, and it kept postponing. And then after a while, I all of a sudden noticed her tummy becoming a little bit big. And then, I was a boy. I wasn't curious because we hardly stayed at home. We used to be on the ground all the time. And then I used to ask her, "Mommy, is something wrong with your tummy?" And then she used to have this hernia problem. And she said, "No, that's just the hernia in that's becoming bigger." And then I would sometimes say, "I see it becoming slightly bigger and bigger every month. What's happening?" No, just the hernia. I have to get it operated, just the hernia. And then, this is serious. One fine day I was playing tennis, and then the servant was working in the house, came running to the tennis court and said, "Mommy wants you, she's in the hospital." I said, "What hospital?" So I went, and my dad took me to Padma Joseph Nursing Home on Pondumalli Road in Madras. Some of you are familiar with that area. And my brother was born, and he was in a cradle. So the whole while she was hiding that from me. I'm not sure that was out of love. And then when my mother came out of her trance or whatever medication, we told her it was a boy baby. And the first thing she said is, "Throw him out. I don't want him." She was so disappointed that after all that while, my brother was born after 12 years, so 68 and 80, so we had a 12-year gap. And then she had another boy baby, so she wasn't really interested. The other thing we normally notice is when she gets a bit angry, which is very easy for her, she will start rolling her eyes, and she had very big eyes. And it's really very scary to look at that. And that is enough. She doesn't have to speak anything. The moment she looks at you and rolls her eyes, you're gone. And even now, if I think of that, I still feel scared. And that is the sort of I don't know what, it's not terror, but that is the sort of fear that we had. And then it was fear, but now I'm happy that I had that fear for her, because that is what has driven me, literally driven me. Like her students shared, she never gave up on anyone, And the worst person in her life whom she could have easily given up was me, Every step of my way, I was a failure. I couldn't do anything properly. And the best thing I couldn't do properly was studies. And she was so good at that. She even went on to do her PhD, but unfortunately she couldn't complete her PhD. She was all for this qualification, study, grow, aim for the stars, all that language I couldn't understand. But she never gave up on me, she kept driving me from one class to another class, from one school to another school, from one college to another college. I got admission in Loyola. Loyola is a very prestigious institution. But if I shown you my +2 marks, I wouldn't have even qualified to enter the gates of Loyola. That was how much I got in my +2. But out of her sheer influence and contacts, she got me through into Loyola. And then she wanted me to do a postgraduate. I finished my Bachelor's of Commerce and I said, oh my God, I'm BCom now. That was something, those days, that was something big. And then she wanted me to pursue. I said, Mommy, are you really joking? I mean, this itself is a miracle. And I can't study anymore, let me go to work. And as Alfred rightly mentioned, every summer holiday, I didn't get to enjoy at home. So we used to get 1.5 months or 2 months of summer holidays. Even before my holiday starts, she would have fixed up with a personal department of either Hotel Chola or Connemara. I worked in all the hotels in Madras. From 3-star, 5-star, 5-star deluxe. I worked in all the hotels. For the 2 months, she'd send me there for a stipend of 200 rupees. So I used to work in the personal department, I used to work in front office, I used to work in the F&B admin department. I worked everywhere. So there's no break. In my break, I go to work. So those days, it was really strict, but not compromising on that discipline and on that quality, I think is what made me what I am today. So she kept driving me and she wanted me to do this post-graduation. She somehow found a place and a college and put me in, forced me to study MBA. And after all, it's normally when you do everything, you realize how good it is. When you look back and think, and now when people come and tell me, you're this, you're that, I just tell them it's not because of me, it's because of this person who's made me, who's literally given me all these accolades out of sheer sacrifice and blessed me with all that I have today, right from my family, my brother, her sister's family, her brother's family, and I just want to say thank you on behalf of all of them, mainly to God and then to Mom as well. I'd like to thank God for putting us in her hands. Just imagine if I was dropped somewhere else. I know what would have happened to me, but God didn't want to do that. So He just picked us up, all her extended family. She was more like a rock and a refuge for us. I'm not exaggerating, this is the matter of fact. And people who are near and dear to me would know this. So I really want to thank God for Mummy. I really want to thank God for picking us all up and putting us, especially me, as her son in her arms. And what she has carved out of this rubbish is amazing. And I just want to thank her and I just want to thank God for that. I'm supported here by 2 churches. One is the All Saints Church, which has been my home from 2002, and the other is the Elim Church, the Elim Tamil Church, which has also been my home from 2002. And I really want to thank the church and the people of the church who have always supported me through thick and thin, be it a good time or a bad time, they're always there. I want to thank each and every one of you. I'm really sorry, I apologize for the late start. I didn't want to break the Indian tradition, so just keeping up with the times. All the songs that we sang are some of Mummy's favorite songs. So I know there were too many songs, but I just wanted to squeeze in as much as I can. Whenever I go with her to the church, when she sings, she never pick up the hymnal. I've never seen her pick up the hymnal and sing from the hymnal. She knew, I don't know how many songs she knew by heart, but she just used to sing. I think that was the olden days traditional CSI training that they got in Chennai, in Madras. There's a lot of people in Madras, old people in Madras who would just sing like that, and she could even read music notes, and there was a humpty number of things that she could do that I couldn't even imagine and think of. So thank you for each and every one of you, as Bettina thanked you in the beginning. It's a nice Saturday, a sunny Saturday that we're having after a very long time, and you guys have spared your evening to be here with us. That shows the love and the respect you have for Mummy. I'm so honored, I'm so humbled to see all of you gathered here this evening. So thank you so very much. I really mean it. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I also want to thank especially Alfred and Edwin for having accepted to come, to spare their valuable time and to share their experience about their teacher. And it was really nice. It was really nice to hear. I'm sure Mommy would be really happy, would be really proud of you guys and many more people that she has really made through the years. I know there used to be a lot of people knocking on the door, or she would meet on the road, and the first thing she'll ask is, "Are you working?" And he'd say, "No." "What have you studied?" He'd say, "I've not studied anything." All she would do is take a visiting card, write something at the back of the visiting card, and go and see the GM of some hotel. And there's not one person who's come back saying, "I haven't got a job," like after giving the visiting card. So a visiting card used to be like a credit card for us. You know, anywhere they take it, they would just immediately, just for her sake, whoever is carrying the card will be treated well, will be given a job. So that's a sort of blessing that she shared as we read, being salt and light to this world. So I really want to thank you guys for coming with your families and for sharing this time with us. It's very humbling to hear your experience as well. And especially for Edwin, I think it's your birthday, Edwin, today. It so happens that it's Marky's birthday as well today. My brother's birthday is also today. So on your birthday evening, I'm sure you'll have an extra blessing from Mommy. Thank you so much for coming. And I only called up Edwin and told him yesterday. I mean, how close can you get? And he immediately said yes. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Special thanks go to, I thank each one of you for having come, but I really want to thank once again Reverend Bruce Keeley and Diane Keeley for being here with us. Thank you so very much. Another very important person that I have to thank is Reverend Andrew Coyle. Andrew has been with us through everything, through literally everything. He's more like a one-man machine. You tell him what's happening and he does everything. Andrew is the current vicar of this church, and when Mom passed away, we had the funeral service here. He came with us to the cemetery. It was really nice. The support and the warmth that you get from the clergy of All Saints is just, you only know when you walk through it. You know, those times when you just don't have words to express, you don't have people to call. When you belong to a church like this, you just get that warmth. You just get people doing stuff for you. So thank you so much, Andrew, for all your help and for all your support. Penny, thank you very much for accepting to play for us. I know I dragged you 15 minutes more at the start. So thank you so much for accepting to play. Penny plays the organ for the All Saints Church, and she's accepted to be with us this evening. Thank you so very much. I also like to especially thank the cooking team that has put together the dinner that you guys are going to have very soon downstairs. So it's not an outright purchase, it's homemade, it's handmade with lots of love and affection and arguments. So it will be tasty, it will be good. This is something that I learned from my mom. Any function, any celebration we have at home, she always used to get cooks from the catering college and cook. We used to tie a sheet at the back in our garage, and there's always cooking. She never believed in buying food and serving people. She always had this philosophy of, if you invite someone, we should make it with our own hands and serve it. That's what she used to do, and I'm trying my best to follow it. And fortunately, I've got some very good people. Richard is our main chef for the evening, and he's really consented to help us. He always helps us. He never says no because he doesn't have a choice. And all the other people who helped us with the cooking from the Eden Church as well. So thank you guys for cooking a lovely meat. So please stay back after the service finishes. If you could find your way downstairs, there's steps at the back of the door. Take time to enjoy the food. Hopefully it's not too hot. Have fellowship with one another. Mommy really likes everybody's tummy to be full. She always loves feeding people. I'll try my best to do that, and hopefully that keeps you happy by the time you go home. I think that's just wanted to thank you guys again. I just wanted to thank God. I just wanted to thank Mom. I just want to thank God for giving me, for giving us this opportunity as a family of Mommy, to have this function, to have all of you here, and say a big thank you to Jesus for all that He is to us, for remembering us, for providing us, and for looking after us. Before we finish, I'll ask Pastor Vicky, who's the pastor of the Elim Tamil Church, to come. If you want to share a few words, Pastor, feel free. He will close the prayer and then we can proceed to dinner. Thank you.
இந்த நாளில் கூட கர்த்தர் கிருபையாய் இந்த நேரத்துக்காக நன்றி செலுத்தி அன்றைய வாழ்க்கைக்காக நன்றி செலுத்தி இந்த நாளில் கூட தேவன் நம்மை இந்த இடத்திலே கூடி வர செய்ததற்காக தேவ சமூகத்திலே ஒப்புக்கொடுத்து நாங்கள் ஜெபிப்போமாக. கிருபை நிறைந்த நல்ல தகப்பனே, இந்த அருமையான இரவு வேலைக்காக உமக்கு நன்றி செலுத்துகிறோம் அப்பா. இந்த இடத்துல நாங்கள் உங்களுடைய சமூகத்திலே கூடியிருப்பது எவ்வளவு சுலாக்கி எவ்வளவு நன்மைகள் தகப்பனே. அன்றைய வாழ்க்கைக்காக நாங்கள் நன்றி செலுத்துகிறோம். கடந்த வருஷங்கள் எல்லாம் நீங்க பாதுகாத்து பலப்படுத்தி இந்த நாளில் கூட ஆண்டவரே எங்கள் மத்தியில் ஆண்டவரே இல்லாவிட்டால் கூட உம்முடைய சமூகத்தில் இருப்பதை நேரத்தில் நாங்கள் மகிழ்ச்சியோடு நன்றி செலுத்துகிறோம் அப்பா. எத்தனையோ பேர்கள் ஆண்டவரே உங்களுடைய நன்மைகளை குறித்து பேசினார்கள். என் கர்த்தர் ஒருவரே எங்களுக்கு எல்லாமா இருப்பதனால் உங்களுடைய சமூகத்தில் இந்த நாளை முழுதாக ஒப்புப்படுத்தோம். நீங்கள் எல்லாவற்றையும் நேர்த்தியாக ஆண்டவரை செய்து முடித்த எங்கள் தேவாதி தேவனை உண்மை நன்றியோடு உண்மை துதிக்கிறோம் அப்பா. இந்த நாளில் கூட ஆண்டவரே வந்து ஒரு பிள்ளைகளை ஆசீர்வதிப்பீராக. விசேஷ வண்ணமாக ஆண்டவரே ஹீபர்ட் குடும்பத்தை உடைய அன்பின் கரத்திலே தாழ்த்தி கொடுக்கிறோம். கர்த்தர் தொடர்ந்து உடைய மகிமையினால் நிரப்புவீராக. அதே போலப்பா இந்தியாவில் இருக்கிற மார்க்கஸ் குடும்பத்தை கூட அன்பின் கரத்தில் ஒப்புக்கொடுக்கிறோம். தொடர்ந்து நடத்தும்படியாக உடைய தயவுள்ள கரத்திலே தாழ்த்தி ஒப்புக்கொடுக்கிறோம். இந்த நேரத்துக்காக நன்றி. என் தகப்பன இந்த நாளில் கூட எங்களுக்காக வைத்திருக்கிற உணவுக்காக நன்றி செலுத்துகிறோம். உணவை ஆசீர்வதிப்பீராக. சமைத்த கரங்களை ஆசீர்வதியும். உங்களுடைய ஐக்கியம் எங்கள் மத்தியிலே பெருகட்டும். உணவு இல்லாத கிருபை கடந்து செல்லட்டும். இந்த வேலைக்காக நன்றியோடு துதித்து மகிமைப்படுத்தி இயேசு கிறிஸ்து இந்த வல்லமை உள்ள கிருபை உள்ள இரக்கமுள்ள நாமத்திலே ஜெபிக்கிறோம் எங்கள் அன்பின் தகப்பனே. ஆமென்.
Thanks everyone. Bill's dinner downstairs, just past those doors if you follow the stairs down.